And I think those images that you're seeing, and they're seared into all of our minds, speak to this desperation. How desperate, how petrified does an individual have to be to risk everything and just try to physically crush yourself on to the outside of an airplane? Those images of people holding on to a U.S. Air Force carrier, I think that's something many Americans will, and people around the world will not be able to get out of their minds for quite some time.
Afghanistan.
Yes.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
And you feel comfortable?
I do.
And you feel comfortable?
I do.
There you go, brother. That's the opening.
Awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad you brought that up, brother, because I saw that this week, and how dare that evil press cover up that turkey should have been impeached right then, because the only reason why that happened was because he wanted a big photo op on the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
That's right.
Oh, I'm the guy who ended the war. I'm the guy. I'm the guy. I'm the guy. I'm the guy.
That's right.
That POS, the most disgraceful. It is literally the most disgraceful moment in American history, and it's also let the floodgates of World War III break out, because they know there's a new sheriff in town, and that sheriff is a doddering fool. And what we have to do now is make sure that his doddering fool's cohort doesn't get in. But
well, the reason why I did it is because I've been thinking we are coming up on the anniversary. It's everything you said. You have the entire collapse of the Afghanistan army, and we have Kamala in the room saying that she's totally comfortable with this, and this data is out there, and it's of course been memory hold. It's all been memory hold. No one's talking about it. You got people like Millie and others, Mattis, whoever was in charge, saying that, we just didn't expect them to collapse that fast. Well, what do you mean you didn't expect? It's like you said before a couple
you're
shows
in the military.
ago.
You're supposed to know what's going on.
You didn't know they were going to attack on 9/11. You didn't know that, a list of whole things, all the failures that you gave, and this was just another one. I mean, this is what we're dealing with.
Nobody got fired,
and no one got fired except for the guy who stood up and said, "No, you're all. Who's taking responsibility for this collapse? No one. That colonel, right? I think it was a colonel who stepped outside the lines of discipline and said something.
And then he had to retire for it because he said this is a disgrace.
Yeah. Forced retirement. Yeah. So I mean, it can't be memory hold. This is worse than Vietnam. This is worse than leaving behind all those people in Vietnam. This is people holding on, and I didn't show the worst of it, which is, the people falling from the planes.
Yeah.
Which we have video of, but I didn't want to show that just because I wanted to make sure we could get it. I plan on putting this out and putting it around and sending it around to people. So that
how come
they
nobody had AWOL Waltzy there while he's deserting his comrades, the National Guard unit that he is? How come they say you said you're carrying weapons in war? How come the Afghan Talibans are allowed to have those weapons, but the American citizens aren't? How come somebody doesn't ask them that question?
Well, I plan on actually doing a handful of these videos. The next one has her saying about gun confiscation.
Yep, good.
Another one has her right after the debate, where she's trying to defend Joe Biden's his terrible performance and how he looks like a doddering old fool. She sits there and defends it. That's actually going to be part of this video, and I took it off because it just didn't fit. We're going to do a couple of those because it's time to get this stuff out. People need to hear it. People need to see it.
Spread it around because you won't hear it anywhere else, right? Go ahead.
Exactly.
Are we doing funnies? You going to do your?
This one's a little long, but we got to do the shirts. We got to do the shirts. I don't have the website set up, but I have Free Trump, which is next month, right? Aren't they going to lock him up next month, brother?
Yes, they are.
We both got matching shirts.
Get these beforehand. Yeah, get them while they're hot beforehand.
Yeah. Be prepared. Be prepared. Go stand outside the courthouse peacefully and make sure that you promote the
mostly peacefully.
Mostly peaceful, just like the Democrats do, right? And so make sure you stand outside there and protest by wearing a shirt. Free Trump. Free Trump. You know what? I guarantee you, if you show up with this shirt at a Trump rally, Trump, I guarantee you this. You stand in that front row. He sees this shirt. He's going to mention you.
Yeah.
He's going to mention you because he can't not mention this because this is the exact truth. He'll read this whole thing. I guarantee you. I'm going to try to do that next time he comes around. All right, so here are the funnies, brother.
What are two things that give off the same energy?
We all watched the television coverage of just yesterday. That's on top of everything else that we know and don't know yet, based on what we've just been able to see. And because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but just limited to what we have seen. For us at every moment in time, and certainly this one, to see the moment in time in which we exist and are present, I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know?
It is a love based on giving and receiving, as well as having and sharing. And the love that they give and have is shared and received. And through this having and giving and sharing and receiving, we too can share and love and have and receive.
So, John, I just want to say that actually Joey is better than Kamala.
Yeah.
Because at least Phoebe understood him. She completely understood everything he was saying. No one understands Kamala. So I have to give my vote to Joey.
I hate Friends, but sorry. So I watched too much of it. My kids.
So here's the next one. This is
the impact on something like public health. When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, the impact on something like public health.
I don't know if you caught that. We reduced population. Not really funny, but really consistent with what their ideology is.
Yeah, scary.
It definitely is.
Scary. And the idea, first of all, she's not black. She's Indian, and she's the worst possible Indian. I can't believe she gets a pass on this. You know, if there's the original Nazi would be the Brahim Indians that her mother is and that she comes from. I think from the other side of the family too. That would be the original Nazis. Literally, it's a caste system, a hereditary caste system where they believe that they are superior than everybody else. And at the very bottom, of course, are the untouchables. So I can't believe that she gets a pass for that. It's like having a Nazi on stage. It's literally like having, and of course, that little that Nazi sign. Where's it come from? The original Aryans. It's her Indians. It's the Brahim Indians. Can't believe she gets a pass on that.
Well, brother, I certainly can believe she gets a pass on it. We're fighting $1 billion news corporation that's joined together in tandem with the Democrats, and she's their new symbol.
She's
the new.
This is breaking. This is breaking news. You got right. You got it. You got
breaking news. We were able to. Mr. Reagan was able to get the audio from the phone call, the actual audio, not the one that's been reported in the past. Here we go.
Listen, let's be clear. You are the puppet, and I'm the puppet master. Just call me Daddy. Big Daddy Barack. From now on, you're my bitch, both literally and figuratively. Now, look, we're going to rig this thing just like we did for Joe, so you don't have to really do anything. Just don't fuck it up. But it would be nice if you could pretend to not be a total idiot. Just until November. Like, don't talk about shit you know nothing about.
AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught.
And look, we get it. You like Venn diagrams. You don't have to keep reminding us.
I love Venn diagrams. I love Venn diagrams. I love Venn diagrams.
And for the love of God, stop with the laugh. Your laugh, it's weird. It's a weird laugh. You scare people. It's not even a laugh. It's more of a cackle. You're like the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz, except you're brown. You're like a cross between a human being and a hyena. You're like a transgender version of the Joker. All right, now look, we need this rigged election to look real. And we know that nobody really likes you, so this is what we're going to do. We know you can't fill a stadium like Trump. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to bring in a popular musician by the name of Megan Thee Stallion. Now, Megan Thee Stallion is going to host a free concert. This concert will be in Atlanta. And so now here's the twist. You're going to come on stage and speak for a bit. Then we pretend that it was a Kamala Harris rally. Then America will think that you can fill up a stadium just like Trump does. American voters are stupid. They'll totally fall for it. And when speaking, I want you to try to sound as black as you can. Instead of saying everyone, I want you to say y'all.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
Black people love that shit. I grew up in Hawaii, but hell, it worked for me. All right, what do you think?
I'm looking forward to doing this, getting out there, being on the road. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
No, I said stop it with a laugh. Damn it, Kamala. Don't fuck this up.
It's so true. So true. So true. James.
Hat tip to Mr. Reagan, by the way, and Larry Elder, who my brother saw this on originally, and we co-opted it for
Larry
our
Elder.
show.
James,
Okay.
there's another solution. I have another alternative to the fact that she's a nitwit. Okay, there's another alternative. It's just being floated now. No. For why she acts the way she does, right? Okay. And it kind of makes sense. We should got the SNL cut for it too. But so one of the rumors is that she has a bad alcohol problem, and that would explain a lot, because it's like we're getting the drunk girl explanations for things, right?
Right.
You hear it here first.
I've heard that.
Because it's going to be, it's making the rounds now and that actually is a good reason, a good explanation for like the ridiculous laugh and for the ridiculous theorizing and the hands too, right? And the shaking of the head. I'm telling you, I mean, we have no proof other than it does seem to make it all fit about some really weird, we'll use that word because they want to use it all type of behavior on her behalf, especially the laugh. But just heard it here first, because you're going to see it breaking within the next week. That's one of our advanced.
Well, yeah, I heard that video. Something about like the reason why she gets all scoldy at the end is because she's fully drunk, and that's just her, reacting to cover up the fact that she's drunk. And
that's why they gave her the wine, the wine mom thing. Remember that, the moniker at the very beginning. Oh, she's your wine aunt. Yeah, is that a cover up there? Is that like a free
2 fingers, John, every night, just like Grandma? 2 fingers.
Right.
So yeah, no, I mean, Mr. Reagan did a great job with that. We had couple funnies. We're ready to move on to Ben Stiller.
Right. Now this we thought was a parody. We had to seriously go, this is a parody, right? No, this is real. First you watch and then you tell us if this is a parody or not.
Right. Here we go. For some reason I lost the screen. Here we go.
In a virtual fundraiser for Kamala Harris called Comics for Kamala, actor, comedian Ben Stiller gives us his deep, insightful reasoning behind why he's backing Kamala.
Another funny guy here to tell you why to vote for Kamala Harris. I'm so...
John, I got to dispute the first statement.
He's funny.
Another
He's a funny guy.
He's funny.
He's funny. He's legitimately funny. I'm telling you,
I'll give you that.
Mystery Man,
not sure.
one of the greatest superhero movies ever. Mr. Angry.
All right,
I'm just saying.
Genuinely excited about the potential to actually win this election.
That you can say was an out lie, but
if we all just rally around and really take advantage of this incredible energy that's happening. I want to just a decent person in the White House, a person who cares about democracy.
I would like that too. So why don't you support Trump?
More than themselves, who doesn't lie, someone who cares about,
I'm still saying, why aren't you supporting Trump?
People, and that's what Kamala Harris does. She's like a human being. She acts like a human being, and she has empathy.
Big lie.
And she has humor, and it's beautiful when she laughs because she's a real person.
Oh,
this is like right? Is this a skit? Is he doing a skit now, or is this just delusionalism?
Who is reacting to things? I believe in everything that she's, standing up for. She wants to put an end to gun violence in the country, and she's energizing a whole group of people who were not engaged before. The fact that she's going to fight for a woman's right to choose, that's so important. This is a chance to really, to protect democracy and to go in the right direction and go forward. And she's also a historic candidate. It's going to be the first woman president. She's Indian, she's Black, she's everything. You can be more than one thing. It's incredible. I'm Jewish and Irish. I wish I was Black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was Black.
Gunga, galunga. Gunga, gunga, gunga.
That guy's funny. Larry Elder is a genius.
On CBS, Biden repeats the Charlottesville both sides.
Yeah.
So
he's a genius. So just want to make a few points about this. This is what we're going to see, right? We're going to see the character assassination continued of Trump, right? And so we're just getting he must be getting the Democrat talking points. It's going to be like, she's a decent person. She cares about people. She's someone who cares about the country and not about herself. This is the lie about Trump that you're going to be seeing, the theme that he just cares about himself. Now you think about that for a second. How about a 180 degrees wrong that is, right? And he's a bully and he's a coward, right? You're going to see that too. This guy who just took a bullet and then went fight. They're going to try and call him a coward. Now, how do they get away with that? They get away with it, as your point about the billion-dollar industry too. But they also get away with it because this is the thing: character assassination, female character assassination works. Okay, nitwit, Naomi Wolf, that nitwit, going, all Republicans have to talk about the issues and to stop the character assassination. Trump has to stop the character assassination. How come nobody ever says to these so-called moral police, these moral police who are all about the issues? How come nobody ever says to the Democrats, hey, why don't you stop the character assassinations, right? Why don't you just talk about the issues and stop calling Trump, just he's so selfish, he's mean, he's no good, right? Now look at it objectively, right? For selfishness. Okay, what actually has Kamala Harris ever done for anybody else? I guess when she was a line DA, not when she was, getting all the attention, getting all the money by being the DA or the state DA, right? Attorney General. And she was a politician. But when she was a line DA for maybe a year or two, she did some actual public service, right? Other than that, she spent her entire life sucking off of the government, right? Never produced anything. Actually, never had any kids either. Wrote no books, wrote no, advanced knowledge, not at all. Didn't create anything. Didn't make a company. Didn't do anything. What did she sacrifice for the country? A big fat zero, right? All she does is suck off of it, and all she does is hide behind the men and women who are greater than her and her AWOL buddy, who's now running as her vice president, right? Now, what did Trump do? All right. Well, Trump built $1 billion business, right? Golf courses here, hotels here, everywhere, right? And then sacrifices it all for the good of the country because he loves this country so much. Literally, he's been indicted on four different jurisdictions on whatever number 99 of these fake felony counts in four different jurisdictions by out of control evil prosecutors who are violating their right to their duty and their oath that they took, and who have no basis in law to actually prosecute him, and they're only prosecuting him to interfere in this election because he's running for the country to save the country, right? So he's facing criminal. He's actually going to probably be locked up in September because he stands up to try and fight for the country, right? That's not that. The $1 billion fortune that he made, the $1 billion fortune that he made is at risk. They charge him with fake civil charges in New York City and try to foreclose on his properties in New York City, right? Not only that, we used to say, oh, you have to say George Washington and even Andrew Jackson. Well, they were greater presidents than him because they stood in battle and some British jerks shot at them and they faced fire like that. And you say, oh well, I might love Trump, but I can't say he's the greatest president we have because he's never been shot at. Wait a minute, wait, where's Mark Dice go? Where's Mark Dice go? What? I can't do what he does, right? All right. He's literally been shot at and almost killed for this country. He is as close to a founding father as America has ever produced since the original generation and the heroes in the Civil War. He is literally the closest thing.
Closer than Joe Biden,
who sacrificed his fame and his fortune. And let's do this. Let's put the last thing into it. His reputation, right? Everybody loved him, right? When he was The Apprentice and he was a playboy, everybody loved him. Oprah had him on there. Everybody loved him, right? He was everybody's, favorite, right? Right. But because he stands up for this country, his reputation is he's an evil, no good, rapist now, right? So his reputation, right, is literally the closest thing we have to a founding father, right? And yet we're going to hear again and again about how he's just so selfish. He just did it for himself. No, that's the exact opposite. That's a lie told by liars. And anybody says that, you got to say to them, you got to set them right. So Kamala sacrificed her fortune? So Kamala risked her life? Nah, don't think so. I don't want to hear about a good old AWOL Waltz, too. Like he didn't do military service. Well, neither did he. Apparently, he was just sucking off the Army. And what he did is when it came time to get that call, hey, boys, you got to go over. He goes, not me. I'm out of here. And he left. AWOL, he's a deserter. The real command sergeant major called him a deserter. Who had to take over and go over with his artillery unit, and he is, because you don't do that. You don't become. I mean, it's a big deal to be a command sergeant major, and then when you get called up, you leave. That is desertion, and all those veterans are right to be mad and hot and tired about it. Yep. So, of course, that's the one she picks. So I don't want to hear any of this like, oh, Trump just did it for himself crap. He sacrificed everything. So for nearly his life, just to represent the American people and us, the people who are tired of the Bush scumbags and the Obama scumbags selling out our country to the Chinese and the globalist nitwits. All right? We're tired of it for the last 60 years.
Since we're on this, let me just... I might have said this to you once before, but there's an eerie similarity between this moment and because next week is the Democrat convention. It's an eerie similarity between this moment and 2008. Here's why: because in 2008 we had a guy running for the Democrats, absolutely no background to speak of, no real leadership qualities, nothing. I think he was a state senator, right? And then he was a senator of, from Illinois. That was his only qualifications, and he won. Why? Because of the $1 billion industry. If you were to put him and McCain up against each other, just on a piece of paper, right? Write down the list of what their history is. You and I are both not McCain fans, but if you just write down the history of the things that he had done, his years of service, being in the military, XYZ, all of it, you would hands down pick McCain. because his much wider breadth of experience.
And Romney too, right? Because he was a
Same
business
Romney.
guy, right?
Yeah, governor, same
But,
thing.
but my point is this: negative campaigning works. It's why
Yeah.
they do it. And so Romney, who's literally a transitioning grandmother Mormon, right, on their side, who starts the campaign, right, as transitioning. By the end of it, he wants a dystopian world where women are in bounds because he used the word binders to put stuff in it, right? And he's abuses dogs, and so that's what we're facing. So I don't want to hear any of this crap. Oh, Trump has to get nicer with them. No. We need to do to them what they are so successful doing to us. And because the difference is we are calling them out on their evil. It's a fact. Donald Trump is not a racist. Donald Trump is not an anti-Semite. His grandchildren are Jews, right? Nobody did more for Jews than Donald Trump. Nobody did more for the state of Israel than Donald Trump.
Nobody
did more for the black community than Donald Trump.
The Democrats are really monopolizing the anti-Semite vote.
Right,
They really are. But there's also another avenue that people can say is he could do what Lee Atwater did in I think it was the 88 campaign where Bush Senior went from 17 points behind to we won with 8 points ahead against Dukakis, where they did the whole Willie Brown and or Willie Horton, was it Willie Horton, and the whole revolving code of justice where the guy got back out and then he killed somebody. They should be doing that, and maybe they're saving it for September. Maybe they're saving it for when things go south. But they need to start doing it now because Trump should win if he can get above their heads, and I hope he can. But we're facing the same thing in 2008. 2012.
What they should be pointing out is that all she wants to do is get trillions of dollars to give to her friends, so that they give kickbacks to her, which is what which good old Joe Biden did, right? Joe Biden, he's a public servant. How is he worth multi millions of dollars and has multi-million-dollar mansions down the shore, in Delaware, and all over the place, right? Well, how does Hillary Clinton have $2 billion, right? Billion, B with a B. She's never produced an electric car. She's never produced a widget. She's never worked in the real world. She's never done a damn thing other than, that stock market thing where she got 100 for 100, right? She played because of insider, right? How come nobody brings it out? These selfish, narcissistic nut jobs, all they want to do is steal other people's tax money, give it to their friends, and then they get to parade around. Look how great I am and empathetic I am by giving all these other poor, low-class people somebody else's money. Right? Somebody needs to point out the selfishness and the narcissism and the great white savior complex of Obama, because let's face it, he's not black, and Kamala, because let's face it, she doesn't have any black blood in her. That's what they need to point out. That's why we keep going. Fake black.
But also the mocking thing, you mentioned it before. Trump does mock without saying a word about her. Like they did with Dukakis when he got into that tank and he had that screwy looking helmet on and he looked like a fool. They must have paraded that video around to make him look like a fool. Trump is doing the same thing.
Why did that work though? That the caucus thing worked was because he was this wacko leftist who was pretending to be pro defense just for political reasons. He was a politician. He was just doing a political thing, just like her. It's the lack of authenticity. And you would think that the media and the press and stuff will go, well, like we want the truth. No, right? They are nothing but the propagandists for the Democrat Party and selling out America by covering up the fact that they're just by covering up as much as can is the inauthenticity authenticity of Kamala and her rich socialist friends, her Brahim friends from California.
My point though is he can mock her without even using her name, just like they did with Dukakis with the screwy looking helmet that he was driving around in a tank. He looked completely out of place. They can do the same thing just by doing what we do every night here. We put on Kamala speaking in her own language and saying the stupid things that she does. It's mockery just to let her speak. And then you get out there and you remind the people, hey, guess what? She said she was going to have a interview in August. She hasn't had it yet. We're now 17, 18 days into it. She still hasn't had an interview with anybody, a live interview with asking real questions, not softball questions. You know, and you look at the media. The media is upset because they haven't gone to her to be able to be her shill. That's why they're upset. They're not upset because they want to ask her tough questions. They're upset because they haven't gotten the opportunity to shill for her to build up their ratings. So when the all those CNN hosts, they're unhappy because Dana Bash, Jack Tapeworm, it's because they haven't been able to shill yet, not because they're going to ask the tough questions. So keep that in mind when you listen to them. You want to move on to the
Simmons?
Culture Wars, brother?
You got to do Gene Simmons.
Oh, Gene Simmons. Yeah, let's do Gene Simmons. I caught this. You're going to like this. It's a little long, but it's Gene Simmons. We always like Gene Simmons.
Personally, I've never had a bad thing happen to me. I haven't had a bad day in my life, not since I came to the Promised Land. And let me tell you something, everybody points to Israel. And yes, I'm proud I'm being there. But the Promised Land is America. In America, Protestants and Catholics live next door to each other. In Ireland, not so good. In the Middle East, Israelis and Arabs don't get along with each other. Over here, everything's fine. The gift that America has given the world is a sort of I can't put it into words. There's a magic here that exists nowhere else in the world. I'm embarrassingly patriotic about this country. I would, see, it's starting to happen. Before we came to America, my mother and I stood in front of the American consulate. My mother was very beautiful, so he put her at the beginning of the line. I saw, and so we went to the front of the line, and I was a little boy. I didn't know what was going on. And he's trying to tell her that she's been accepted to come to America. But my mother couldn't speak English, so he says, do you speak, she couldn't speak English. And they're trying to connect. So they settled on, kannst du sprechen Deutsch? Ja. Ich kann sprechen Deutsch, ich habe gelernt auf der Schule. I speak some German. You have to, especially in the camps. So in broken German, he says to her, welcome, you have been accepted to the United States of America. I didn't know what America was. I'd never heard of it or anything. And he says, okay, before you come in, you have to raise your hand and swear allegiance to America. And my mother didn't know what to do, so she went like this. And sorry. So I saw that night, I didn't know what was going on, and my mother was rigid like that. She just wanted to come to America. I saw him coming. He got off his riser, and he came up to her, and he put her hand down, and he said, you're never going to have to do that ever again. And I didn't understand what that was. But the magic and the blessing that is America is that, yes, even if you're the sons and daughters of Nazis, you can come here and nobody will try to kill you, and you can have all the rights and freedoms that native-born children in America have. This is the promised land.
I had asked you what is the worst thing that happened to you in your life. So what's the best thing that's happened to you in your life?
Well, the best thing that ever happened to me was coming to America. I mean that honestly, unapologetically. Once I landed in America with my mother, it was like through the rabbit hole, Alice in Wonderland kind of thing. I never saw anything so big. The people were big, the cars were big, the sandwiches were enormous. People had refrigerators full of their own food. You didn't have to go to a store to pour a can of soda. I remember as an 8.5, 9-year-old boy going to the first supermarket across from my Aunt Magda's house, and I walk in, and it's like city streets with people going down one street and up the other and stuff, carrying tons of food, and the food was stacked up higher than the people were taught. I just couldn't fathom it. It was just, America, the land of plenty. You're goddamn right. I'd never seen, and to this day, I just can't believe how much it's Wonderland. Personally,
there you go, brother.
That's pretty cool.
It is, isn't it? I mean, first of all, it's Gene Simmons, but so unapologetically patriotic. Don't you wish our politicians on the left could feel that way?
Yeah.
I mean, he is unapologetically, and I know that there's some Democrats out there that do feel that way, but there's also a lot more who want to sit there and demonize Western civilization itself and America for all the things that we've done and all the bad things. They never want to point out the good things. Good things, of course, being everything you just heard Gene Simmons say. I don't know if you can hear it. I got a cricket in the background here that is driving me crazy. But my point still holds. They'll do everything they can to wreck it. That's Kamala's next goal, is to make people like Gene Simmons regret ever saying that they're unapologetically American. And why, John? Why? Why do people like you and me, our age, and Gene Simmons' age, feel so unapologetically American? Why? I had a theory. I got a theory. And here's the theory. We were taught this from a young age. I saw a picture, advertisement for Superman, not like today, actually, I think. And it said, if you're in school and you see somebody being bullied, you should stand up for them. You should stand up to them because it's un-American to bully somebody, right? Who would say it's un-American to bully today? Can you imagine somebody saying it's un-American to bully somebody? They would say it's totally American. That's what you do. That's what Americans do. Nothing but a bunch of bullies. Those escapees from the insane asylum would say that. But I mean, the people who are running some of our classrooms. The concern I would have is, where is it coming from? It's coming from the kids are being taught this to dislike our Western civilization in America. They don't understand where it comes from. They understand that it's the same reason why the gays and lesbians are protesting Israel and carrying Palestinian flags. They just don't understand what they're doing. That the only reason why they're alive is because they're in Western civilization. If they're over in the Middle East, they'd be dead. They would have been thrown off a roof. That's what they do. So today I'm going to be talking about the culture segment, which obviously this is the lead-in for, and it's really going to surprise you. I'm going to be talking about Batman. There's a
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Not that Batman.
That's the best Batman ever. That's my favorite Batman. He's so good.
There's a new series it just came out called Batman Cape Crusader. It's on Amazon. It's got Bruce Timm, and I'm not going to get into the details because I know a lot of people who watch this are not necessarily geeks like me and into certain people writing and drawing and writing, the storytelling. But I'll get into, they were trying to really get this to be like Batman the animated series, which was the cornerstone of animated shows of Batman. It's like, I've heard people say that Batman's as popular as he is today because of Batman the animated series, which is probably true because it's just so iconic. It even made it into the Crisis of Infinite Earths. And Kevin Conroy, who was the mainstay for the voice of Batman, he passed away. I think it was 2022. Cancer, I think it was. Terrible. I mean, he was such a great voice for the voice acting of Batman. I tell you all this because they tried to do everything they could to copy Batman the animated series, and they failed utterly. They failed on so many levels, but kind of some of the art looks okay. The art doesn't look bad. I mean, I've heard people wreck on it. I don't think the art's terrible. I do think the storytelling is absolutely the worst. It's the worst storytelling, and I would say that I'm not the only one because I have up here up on the screen Rotten Tomatoes. Of course, you're going to expect the people on the left; those are the critics. They're the critics. They're the Ebert and Siskel's who, such amazing, such wonderful. And then you hear the real people, you, me, the audience. It's a 56 score out of 100. So people thought it sucked. The only thing I've seen worse than this is the whole the latest Star Wars. I can't remember its name. It's but that's the latest version of Star Wars, the latest show. It'll come on to it's my tongue begins with an A. Anyway, that's the worst I've seen. That was down to 13. It was down to 13 audience. I want to make this point because I'm not the only one. This isn't just coming from me. This is a fan-based revulsion for this. So what's wrong with it, right? First off, yeah, it's going to go. Let me ready? The message. The problem is the message. You know what the message is, brother? You know what the message is?
No, what?
So the message is strong female character. The women, rescue the men, and it's always about, something to do with the whole, whole version of the gay, lesbian, pride, everything. It's the message. It's just the woke message that has to be infiltrated into Batman. Now.
Are they saying Batman is gay?
No.
Is he transitioning
yet? He didn't go that far yet.
Is he transitioning?
But John, first of all, they said it in 1940. Somehow, Jim Gordon is black as a commissioner. Somehow, Jim Gordon is black in the 1940s as the commissioner of the largest police force in the entire country. Somehow, that happened in 1940.
When did the gays show up? If it's 1940s, then.
Whoa! Don't get ahead yet, brother. His daughter is, of course, Barbara, which we know is the future Catwoman, right? Or not Catwoman, Batwoman, Batgirl. But she is a strong, independent, the smart one between her and her police commissioner father. She's the smart one. She's a lawyer, one of the best lawyers in Gotham, right? And she looks like she's maybe 20, 22. She looks like she's just finished law school. But she's a hard ass all the way through. Then somehow they also have in 1940 Hispanic Montoya, amazing detective who is also on the force, and she is so much better at everything. By the way, John, I don't know if I said this, but the entire Batman character doesn't really. It should have been called the Barbara Gordon Show because it focused on Barbara Gordon for the 3/4 or 5/6 of the first episode and 3/4 of the second episode, and Batman really didn't show up until the third episode, and they have a woman who, Barbara Gordon, who's super strong, Montoya, who is a gay Hispanic woman who's also a detective. There's your gay, and who also is interested in a Asian psychiatrist. Which the best part is she is Harley Quinn, Joker's sidekick, without Joker. Joker never shows up in the show. Spoiler alert, Joker never shows up, but Harlequin is there, and somehow Harlequin is able to outsmart Batman and get him in a cage that he can't get out of and dose him with chemicals to knock him out. John, I'm like, what the hell? This is not Batman. Batman beat Darkseid, for crying out loud. He beat Darkseid in his own planet, and he can't even beat Harley Quinn, who is they have the Asian psychiatrist and the who's also a lesbian psychiatrist, Asian psychiatrist, and the lesbian Hispanic detective make out in a public restaurant in the 1940s. Like that's gonna happen. I mean, John, you're a history guy. Is that something that's ever possible?
And Andrew Clavin makes the point that what's that show where the girls they're acting like whores in New York City, the 4 girls.
Golden Girl? No, Gossip Girl?
No, it's a TV show where they're just like that or whatever. It's Sarah Packer. She's the horrible, ugly Sarah Packer.
Apparently not a show that I watch.
It's a show. He makes a point that it's a story about all these 4 women and all the sex in the city, all the sex that they're having, right? And he makes a point. Well, it's being written by gay men, and this is their version of women, right? And I would point out to you probably this is the same thing happening because it sounds like it's a gay men who can't stand toxic masculinity, and so they're taking this opportunity to abuse the crap out of a hero like Batman.
Batman gets beat up by everybody. It's like full on. Let's beat up Batman. Clayface beats him. Everything. And I haven't even gotten to like the thing that the woke left is like defending the most. Like, oh my God, this is going to drive the right wingers crazy. Oh my God, is the fact that they gender swapped one of Batman's main character, enemies, the Penguin. They turned the Penguin into a girl. And I had the article. I'm not going to show it because I don't want to waste our time with it. But one of the positive articles that they were talking about, and I'm going to go back to check to see if the writers were like the gay men that you were checking. I'm going to fact check you, brother. I'm going to fact check you.
Andrew Clavin said it, so
I'll fact check Andrew Clavin. But one of the things that they said is they made this woman look like Marlene Dietrich. All right, they try to make her look like Marlene Dietrich, and I will pull it up here if I can, where she's at.
She can't look like a penguin.
No, she doesn't look like a penguin at all. She's only in the first episode.
Then why do they call her the Penguin?
She's dressed like the Penguin.
She's got a penguin suit on?
No.
Well, 1940s, they probably had a lot of people walking around like with penguin suits.
Oswalda Cobblepot.
Well, on another note, I saw Flash with again, and it's got the best Batman in it, and Michael Keaton is in it, and I guess they're going to do a second one, which is great.
There you go, John. There she is. That's Marlene Dietrich. Did you know?
Wow. Yeah.
And she knocks off her son, literally kills her son, one of her sons, in the first episode. And I mean, I watched all but the last episode. I couldn't stomach anymore. I fought through it, brother. I fought through the good fight, and I just like, this is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. The action is terrible. Batman is always getting beat up. Barbara Gordon always saves the day. Jim Gordon is an idiot. And and Batman's an idiot. Batman follows around the lesbian Hispanic detective. It's because she's the smarter detective. She's the better detective than Batman, right? And they treat Alfred. They make Alfred a fat guy who is a bumbling idiot. And every time one of the guys was, when I do my research, points out that and I didn't notice it until he said it. Every time Batman talks to Alfred, he talks with a very deep voice, and he sounds like this. But the moment like he's talking to somebody else, he's like, "Oh, how's everybody doing?" Like he doesn't just talk normal to Alfred. He doesn't just have a normal voice. Like he's got to be, it's just weird. They're very woke weird, very woke weird. The entire show, very badly put together. And the non-surprise here, and I buried the lead. The non-surprise is who is actually producing this is Jar Jar Abrams, right? Famously called Jar Jar because the worst character in Star Wars is Jar Jar Binks.
The most racist
right.
blackface character since Governor Northam of Virginia was caught in a hood or blackface. He won't admit which. Right, yeah.
So and so now it's Jar Jar Abrams because he has destroyed successfully. He's successfully destroyed Star Wars. He's successfully destroyed Star Trek. Not in this order. He's successfully destroyed DC now. He is clearing the decks, John. He is clearing the decks. He really is just making it easier for independent moviegoers or movie makers
competition.
to make.
You gotta have competition.
He's wiping out. They have destroyed Star Wars. I have not watched Star Wars. I will not be watching Star Trek. All because of that.
I'm writing a book that's going to be better than Star Trek.
John,
the right way.
There you go.
That's what I'm going to do. We got to take back the culture. According to Andrew Clavin, we have to take back the culture. But is that it?
He's right. That's it, brother. That's all I got with the.
All right. One more quickie. Word on the coup. The two quickies. Word on the coup. There was news this week from about because it's one of the things that we're constantly investigating and continuing to note data points on. Is that we believe that when somebody threatened to use the 25th Amendment on Biden, that's the reason why he stepped down, and it's most likely Kamala or a cabal of people like Kamala, and that that's why he was written on X, and then somebody else wrote the I'm stepping down from the campaign letter. But also, another piece to the puzzle was put in this week when Nancy Pelosi, who's obviously losing it and letting out all the intel, admitted that her and company were taken by surprise, and they expected an open convention. But they were taken by surprise by his by Biden's so-called quick endorsement of Kamala. Now, what we believe has happened is because we reported on it before, is that because she was in the campaign, she still had access to the campaign websites and stuff, and so she just wrote her own endorsement and signed Obama's name to it. Signed Biden's name to it, like everybody else has been doing for the last 4 years. And they were stuck with Kamala, and so shows you how quick and cunning she is, how stab in the backy she is too, and. Anybody out there, the questions that need to be asked her is like, well, you stabbed Joe Biden in the back. Are you going to stab the Muslims in the back when you can become president? Are you going to stab the fracking people in the back? Or are you going to stab the green people in the back? Who are you going to stab in the back? Right. So another issue of character, which needs to be brought up to her. So that little aside is there. Plus, this week too, we have a lot of frustration out there from our colleagues. And we actually have an answer to it about how, now that they're launching, what policies they're pretending the policies that they're launching are Trump policies, which they could steal. She plagiarizes, and she can guarantee that the press is going to cover up the plagiarism, just like they covered up the plagiarism for good old Biden and swept that under the rug, even though it literally ended his previous presidential bids. today, in 2020, they covered it up. So she's going, well, listen, if they covered up for Biden, we'll cover it up for me. And so she steals Trump's idea about the no taxes on tips, and she steals the child credit tax. So basically, just to do a little history for your taxes, you used to be only get $1,000 credit for your for having a child. You could use, right? And so Trumpy came in and he brilliantly raised it to 2,500. So JD Vance makes that off comment about cat ladies, and you need to have some skin in the game, as Obama would say, and have some kids. And so they say, "Oh, look, Trump is going to announce this, but here, you take this one." And he comes out and he says, "Well, I'm for families, and therefore I'm for $5,000. We're gonna up it to $5,000 child credit tax, right?" And so what does Kamala do? Well, she steals that. Says we're going to make $6,000, right? Right, not going to lose the opportunity. But if you look at the actual so-called proposal, what it is $6,000 the first year, and then the second year it drops down to $3,600 for the rest. So unless your child dies the first year, or you're planning to kill the child the first year, right? It's better to go for the Trumpy.
Don't give out ideas, John. Don't give them ideas.
Right. Unless you're trying to off the, well, maybe she'll give a child credit for you offering your children because we have too many of them, right? So
right.
So how do you deal with this, right? Because the press is just going to cover up. They're just going to go, she's so great. She cares so much more about the children than Trump and JD Vance, even though they're the ones who actually will do it. And she's just lying about it so she can get ahead. And she's literally the vote that empowered the IRS to make sure that the waitresses were being hunted down by the IRS agents and forced to turn over the taxes are being charged, even though there's no proof that they were hiding their taxes, right? But we're going to audit them and make sure they're paying their taxes. They better have a rate that's typical to the facility that they're at, right? She is the one who voted 50-51 to break that tie to make that happen, right? So she's lying about all this stuff. Well, what's the solution? What do our ideas? Well, we have a simple solution. It's all right. I call you and raise you, bitch. And here's how we raise it. You see what JD Vance should come out and says, okay, you're only going to do $6,000. You know what? We're going to do $10,000 child tax, right? And not only that, we're going to make it retroactive. So, for example, me, I got all these kids because we want big families, Kamala. So eat that, steal that, jerk. And then what they should say about the income tax on the waitresses is go, wait a minute. Thank you for bringing up the point that income taxes are an evil thing. The founding fathers had no income tax. They only had to get that through an amendment, and all income taxes over 2% are a lie, because constitutionally, amendment-wise, they were sold that the income tax would never go over 2%, right? So every income tax over 2% is an out-and-out unconstitutional act, because the founding fathers didn't want any of it. You only have a minor exception for 2% of an income tax, right? So what they should say is, you know what? Like Trumpy says, you only want to help the waitresses. We want to help all the middle class. So we're going to get rid of all the taxes on the middle class. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to fund it with tariffs. That's the way the country was run. And that's the continent was conquered with a tariff and a gold standard, right? All this funny money, so that the Bidens and the Clintons and the Harrises can give it all to their friends and then live fat lives while all the rest of us suffer. You know what? We're getting rid of that graft. We're going to do it just on the tariff and no taxes on the middle class. I call you bitch and I raise you bitch. Take that. That's the way to handle these evil, lying Democrats. Is that time, brother?
Well, we are at 1 minute left. I just want to share. This is because I obsessed a little bit. Here's Marlena Dietrich. That's her in a tuxedo, and where is the article? What happened to the article? Here is, they said, when he said, James Tucker and I were talking about the overview of the show. We said one of the problems with Batman, as he is there's a lack of good villains. And I guess there's not enough female villains, despite the fact that you have Catwoman, Poison Ivy, and Harley Quinn. I mean, so they decided that's why they gender swap Penguin to look like Marlene Dietrich. Which,
well, they missed a big opportunity, James. They missed a big opportunity. Batman could have transitioned. They missed a big opportunity.
They've done Batwoman. They have a Batwoman that was on CW.
He needs to transition, and then they'll have their destruction. Right.
Anyway, it's the culture war, brother. That's where we're going to be at. This is what the fight is. This is what the fight's always going to be. We're going to be pushing back against them because they have no problem tearing down our institutions. I was at a baseball game today, and I was noticing that the field is named Columbus Field. And then I walked outside and I saw a giant statue of Christopher Columbus. And I thought, wow, how long is it going to be until the lefties come here and try to tear this down?
Well, you're in Sussex County, so hopefully never. But
you never know, John. I mean, we're only a couple of elections away from losing it all. I mean, New Jersey is not known as a conservative state. And while the county is, a lot of people moved out here from Bergen County and the city because they wanted to get away from all the restrictions that you had and the COVID and the dangers. And so, the crime ridden. I didn't even talk about this. So I'm going to just mention this, if I can, if you don't mind, brother. This is what they wanted to get rid of.
New York City, Central Park. Tonight is going to glitter, not with jewels, but with extra cops. Dozens of them, in fact. This after a recent surge in robberies. The latest robbery last night when 2 men were mugged by teenagers. Robberies year to date in the park have more than tripled. The rise in robberies at least partly blamed on young migrants living in city shelters. Eyewitness News reporter Janice Yu live in the park tonight with the very latest. Janice.
Well, Bill, those officers actually just deployed within the last half hour.
I'm going to stop it there because you notice this is the $1 billion a day industry. They used the word migrant, staying in the apartments. No, they're illegal aliens. They're not migrants. They're not there legally. They are there illegally because New York is a sanctuary city. And this violence is coming from the illegals there. But you're not going to hear them use those words. Why? Because that would tarnish the Democrat brand. Instead, that would tarnish the Biden administration and therefore Harris and her campaign. People would have to be asking, why do we have these migrants here? And they would be able to quickly draw the connection, or these illegal aliens. Why do we have these illegal aliens? Well, they're here because they crossed the border that way. That's
because the border's open, and
the border's wide open,
and they're getting paid all these thousands of dollars for Medicaid and Social Security funds, and they haven't put a dime into the system, and yet we have people who need it. And but I'm not worried about them because, like Gene Simmons says, there's people actually love the idea of freedom and the idea of America, and they're better at it than the leftist nutjob spoiled Nepo babies that are running around in the Democrat Party.
Problem
so what we should do, another program we should have is if you are against freedom of speech, all these censors, is we have a little solution. We're going to exile you. Go back to the days of the Roman Republic. You're going to get exiled for 5 years. Go live in the world and see what happens. Go live in England and see what happens when you open your mouth and they lock you up in jail just because you opened your mouth.
But John, I think that the problem, it ran out of my head. The problem here is something to do with, they're here illegally, and many of those people that got here are actually enslaved by the cartels. They're actually being used. Many of them are being used to do whatever it is, make the drugs or or sell them or mule them. And then the other problem that, putting that aside, putting that criminality beside, one of the bigger problems is $60 billion a year is going to Mexico, going to other countries that we're losing that could be used and spent here. But they're sending the money overseas back to their home, to their families back there, instead of keeping it here. So Mexico has absolutely no incentive. They have every incentive actually to keep the flow running, because no one's going to hold them accountable but Trump. Again, that's part of the questions, part of the things that would be said. They would have to say not only would Trump close the border, but he would make Mexico be accountable for the people that are coming across, which would then lessen the $60 billion a year that's being shipped out that the illegals are sending. And that would hurt their economy. That's why Maduro, or whoever's the president over there, is all for the illegals coming across. Not because he loves Joe Biden and loves the left, it's because he's bringing in $60 billion a year that's boosting the economy of Mexico that desperately needs it. That's all I have to say about it.
All right, I guess we're done.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check out our website, Beat the Matrix. Make sure you come around and look at our multiple shirts that we have. They're on T. You can get to them from our website at beatingthematrix.com. Please make sure you like and subscribe our stuff. Share it as often as you can with your friends. Remember that every little bit that you do to help us helps Trump, helps the Republican brand, and helps spread the word, and will more than likely piss off a Democrat somewhere. So you're really doing two good things. You're pissing off the Democrats and you're helping out the Republican brand, aka Trump. On that note, brother, it's all good.
Because God loves you.
Because God loves you.
And I think those images that you're seeing, and they're seared into all of our minds, speak to this desperation. How desperate, how petrified does an individual have to be to risk everything and just try to physically crush yourself on to the outside of an airplane? Those images of people holding on to a U.S. Air Force carrier. I think that's something many Americans and people around the world will not be able to get out of their minds for quite some time.
Afghanistan.
Yes.
Were you the last person in the room? Yes.